Well, hello and welcome to the National Scrapbook Day celebration with the Paper and Ink Boutique. My name is Julia, and here is the layout I created with our Lemon Squeeze National Scrapbook Day kit that we curated with our friends at Simply Stated. So you may have already seen a walkthrough of the kit, so I probably won't show a lot of it to you, but I do want to point out a few things that I think are super cute. We've given you one package of the handmade paper flowers from 49 a Market, and we've given you these in the color Salt. And these are really great because they're white. You can color these with inks and sprays, so you can really customize them to your layout, and they're a great size, but they're also really fabulous on cards as well. They will add a little bit of dimension, so putting these through the mail, probably not the greatest idea, but great for those hand-delivered cards. Also, I'm not going to be using these on my layout, but I just wanted to point them out that they're in your kit. I'm sure one of our other National Scrapbook Day instructors will be using them, so I'm sure you'll get lots of inspiration for those. We've also given you a little bag of high supply gems. I haven't decided if I'm going to use these yet. Gems I usually add right at the end of my layout, so if I decide to use it, I will let you know. We've also got some black matte dots here. Really great for adding just a little bit of dimension and a little bit of just a pop of color. And I know I said pop of color and it's black. Okay, so in your little glassine packet here, we've got a wonderful selection of ephemera, also from the Lemon Squeeze collection from our friends at Simply Stated. So you can see we've got some frames. We've got a circle one, a square one. We've got lots of flowers. We've got lemons. We've got daisies. Super cute. I'll be adding some of those to my layout, so I'm just going to put those up there for a moment. We've given you one sheet of glitter paper. This is black sapphire glitter paper from Tonic Studios. Really fabulous paper. I'm probably not going to be using this, but I'm sure other people will be using it today and giving you lots of inspiration. I'm just going to set this aside for a moment. So we've given you 6 sheets of paper from the Lemon Squeeze collection. I'm not going to be going through all of these, but you can see them here. Really gorgeous selection of paper. Lemons, daisies, beautiful greens. We've got the blacks, we've got the yellows, absolutely stunning. And we've also given you 6 sheets of coordinating basil cardstock. And there you go. We've given you 3 colors of green and 3 colors of yellow. Now, I am planning on using a couple of things that I did have in my stash. I'm planning on using a stencil, and this is a Paper Artsy stencil. I'm just trying to find the code there. PS305. I no longer have the packaging, but I'm pretty sure this is a Tracy Scott one. So PS305, I'm using that stencil. And then also in my kit, or also in my stash, I found a package of American Crafts Thickers Memento White, and I will be using these as well, but those will be used for my title. Now, prior to getting started, first of all, I wanted to find a photo. So I found this photo. Yes, that's me. It's from October 19... Sorry, I'm just looking at the date I wrote down here. October 1976. So I was about 4 years old. So this is me sitting in my grandma's garden. And I've always loved this photo. I've always loved this photo of me. So I found it in my baby book. I took a screenshot of it, put it in an editor, edited that photo a little bit. And then what I did is I did mat it on a piece of black. Just so you know, this photo is 5 by 7. I just want to confirm that. Yes, this photo was 5 by 7. The black mat I put under it, I believe is 5 1/4 by 7 1/4. And then I also matted it on one of the colors of cardstock that you got in your kit. And I matted that on the amber. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to try and let that focus. It's the amber cardstock, so it's your darkest yellow from your kit. So I have my photo ready. You can see that I'm starting with white, but really white is just my base. It's actually going to end up being my frame. Okay. Now I haven't really decided if I'm going to do, I'm probably not going to do the yellow background just because I've matted this in yellow. And the reason why I matted it in yellow is because of the yellow in the photo. So let's go with one of our green papers. And I think I might do, I think I like that one. So I'm going to cut this down. Let me just get rid of this for a second. So I do want to leave a frame around this with my white paper. So I'm going to cut this 12 by 12 piece of paper down to let's do 11 by 11. That will give me 1.5 inch frame all the way around. So let's do 11. Sorry, did I say 11? Yes. Not you know what? Let's do 11.5. Take that out of there. Don't need that. Let's do 11.5. I can always cut off a little bit more. Give that one turn and do 11.5. And I'm glad I did that because I like that size of frame that I'm getting all the way around. Now, before we get going, before I actually attach this down to my page, I am going to do my stenciling. I am going to be doing something around the edge, probably going to be doing an ink, might be doing some distressing. Okay, let's do some stenciling. Now, before I start using this, I do want to mask off some of the flowers I don't want to use. So I do have my masking paper here. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have a more efficient way of doing this, so you're not wasting masking paper, but this is how I do it. I did pick out some Distress Ink colors, so I'm going to use Bundled Sage, Twisted Citron. This one is Forest Moss. You can tell I've had these for a long time. And Gathered Twigs I'm also going to be using. So like I said in my initial drawing, my photo is going to go over here, my title over here, but I want to do some flowers kind of from this corner, kind of coming down into this area. So I might be bringing my photo back in just to show some of that, but I am going to open up my inks. I'm not going to be using the Gathered Twigs quite yet, but let me put these just so I can see them. Twisted Citron, Bundled Sage, and Forest Moss. So let me start with Twisted Citron. And I am doing tone on tone. I didn't want the daisies to be like, ugh, in your face. So I am going to be doing kind of just lighter ones. I got all these brushes and I might not even switch them. What I might do is just kind of go back and forth. So you can kind of see what I'm starting here. I'm going to start with big. The flowers are going to get a little bit bigger. Maybe I'll stick a bigger one in here. And some of you are probably saying, why green daisies? I didn't want them like too in your face. I just wanted the illusions of having flowers in the background. So I'm just going to keep twisting and turning my stencil. And I'm not being too concerned if I get all the edges. I'm not going to worry about that too much. This is just creating a bit of a background. Because my paper is green, maybe I just want to take the dark color, do the center, the outer edges of that flower, and it will almost just give the illusion that the flower is there instead of stenciling the entire thing. Sort of like that. I'm just going to put my photo down here, sort of where I want it. Okay, so I don't need to come more, but I think I might add a little bit more down the side and across the top. So that just kind of gives me a visual of where I wanted to go with these. So let me just come in here. And I'm also going to make sure to kind of overlap things a little bit because I don't want things to look... And I think I probably did that one a little bit too low, but let's see. Yeah, well, sort of covered up. Okay, so I am going to start coming down the side here. Let's do this. Now, I do know that some of my pattern paper is going to be coming up from the bottom. Now, if you wanted to check your stenciling, I suggest holding your stencil down, peeling it back, and taking a look. See what you've got. So I just want to add some around the edges here. Okay, so I like that. Let me again place my photo where I want it. Just going to move my inks along the top here, just so I can. Okay, perfect. So I like that. And now I just wanted to add a little bit more stenciling on this side because again, my pattern paper is going to be kind of along here on the bottom. So I just wanted to add a little bit more stenciling here. And I think I'll go back to one big flower and then add some little flowers around it. So let me just take that out. Oh, already I'm just loving this. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I am going to add just a few more smaller ones kind of in here. But again, like I said, my pattern paper is going to start here and kind of go up about midway. So I just have to be mindful of that. Probably won't add any more small flowers down here. But let me add in maybe one up here. And let's add one more over here, maybe a lighter color. What are we looking at there? I think that's looking okay. Maybe I will add another one down here just in case my pattern paper doesn't come up that high. So let's just do that. Now, before we move on, I do want to ink the edges here a little bit. Now, before I do that, and I have been looking for my paper distresser and I can't find it. So I'm just going to use my scissors. I just want to come along. Not liking those scissors for that, so I'm going to be bringing out my bigger tonic ones. There we go. This will work better. So all I'm doing is just kind of roughing up that edge a little bit. Okay, so I just roughed it up a little bit, not too much. just a little. And now I'm going to come in with my gathered twigs. I was going to use this, but I don't like using these brushes for edges, so I'm actually going to go for a bigger brush. And I'm just going to pick up that ink. And I'm just going to come along here. Okay, so there we go. And that is what we've got right now. Okay, so now I want to start working on my pattern paper in here. And probably going to use, I might fussy cut some of those out. Let's leave that for a moment. I know some of you are like, fussy cutting, what? Yeah, I know, I'm thinking the same thing. Definitely going to use this one. So I need this paper to come up about halfway-ish to about here. I'm just going to just mark these just about where I need them. And it just occurred to me that I'm doing this the wrong way. Hang on. No, that's correct. Sorry. About there, and then to the bottom of my page about there. And then what I'm going to do, because you know I don't like following the rules, is now you could use something like, because I wanted to do a wavy line. So you could do something like this, but that's a little bit too structured for me. I want it to be a little bit more loosey-goosey. So bottom of my page, I want to start it about there. So between this point and that point, I hope I'm still on camera, I'm just going to take my pencil and just kind of draw something like that. All right, so before we get too far, I am going to cut this off at about, like I said, not good at measurements, but let's do it at 6 inches, which is pretty close to where I had it marked off. So I'm using 6 inches of the yellow strip paper. And then I'm going to use my scissors and I'm going to cut along that line that I just kind of went. Now I'm not cutting on the line because I don't want to have to erase this. So I'm actually cutting just on this side of the line. There we go. Lovely. So this is the one I'm going to use for the first one. I might do this one over top. Okay, so I'm going to leave that. Let me bring this in and I'm going to cut my second piece off. I just marked it where about the bottom of my paper is. So that is roughly 3.5 inch strip is what I'm going to cut off there to overlap over top. Okay, so this is going to overlap over top, but again, I need a wavy line in here. So I'm going to take this and follow along there. So again, you probably can't see it, but there is a pencil line that I just kind of put along my paper there. And I am going to cut again on the right side of that so that I don't have to worry about erasing that line. those together. There we go. Now, before we get too far into this, I am going to fussy cut out some of these flowers, okay? So hang on, I'm not going to make you watch me. Okay, so I just went and fussy cut out some of the daisies that I'm going to be using for tuck spots, but I'm also going to be using some of the ephemera as well. So I'm just going to pick these up. I'm just going to set them aside for right now until I am ready to use them. Just going to throw those on there and set those aside. Okay, so before I move on, I do want to, like I did with the edges, like I did with the edge of my 11.5 by 11.5 green sheet, I am going to rough up these edges just a little bit. I am just doing that curved edge. I wasn't going to do the sides of the bottom, and then those are going to be nested together there. And let's start bringing in our pieces for assembly. I hadn't decided, maybe I will tuck that in. I think that actually looks a little bit better tucked in like that. Okay, so going to start assembly a little bit here. So the first one I'm going to stick down is this one. Now this one I'm going to do flat. This one I am going to pop up. So I am going to turn this over, going to grab my adhesive. Now I do want to leave a little bit of space so I can tuck some of those flowers in. So I'm not going to have my adhesive all the way to the edge, but I am going to have it along the bottom and up both sides. And then let's just do in there. So I didn't put any adhesive there so I can tuck some of those flowers in. So I'm just going to line that up. Now it just occurred to me that I didn't cut this down to 11.5 by 11.5. So I'm going to center that. And then I'm going to trim off that edge. There we go. And then this one, I am going to pop up this edge, but before I do that, I am going to cut this down so it is the same, and it's going to be 11 by 11.5. So let me just line that up to 11.5 and just trim off that little bit of extra. Now I do want to keep a little bit of this edge lifted up, so I'm not going to, actually let me just put in my adhesive along that bottom because I do want it flush. A little bit there, a little bit there. And then I am just going to take some dimensional foam. I'm not putting it right up against that edge because, like I said, I do want to tuck some in, but I do want it to have a little bit of dimension on that one edge. There we go. So you can see I've got a little bit of dimension there. And I do want to stick in my photo about there. I don't like adding a whole lot of dimension to my scrapbook pages. I know some do, and those are absolutely gorgeous. But I like to keep things a little bit more flat just so my books don't get absolutely massive. And I am, because I swear I have a wonky eye, Things are constantly crooked. Yeah, no, that looks good. Okay, so there is the basis of my page. I'm trying to give it a bit of a 70s vibe just because that is the era of this photo. I didn't want it to be too contemporary. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to start sticking down the ones that I am for sure liking the placement of them. I'm going to use some dimensional foam on some of them. Now, before I put any of the other ephemera down, I do want to get my title on here because I do want to fill up the rest of the ephemera. Did I stick these down? I did not. Let me take those out. Okay. So when I found this photo, because it was in my baby book, there was some information in it. So I do want to make a note of when the photo was taken. So the photo was taken October 1976. This was taken on my grandmother's farm, my grandparents' farm. I'm going to title it Sitting in Grandma's Garden. I do want to make a note that it's me, because whoever might find this might not know. Julia, October 1976. And then I need to do my title, and my title is going to go in here. So I don't want my title to be sort of floating, but I think what I'm going to do, there were a couple of frames in here, but I don't think that they will be big enough for what I'm thinking. No, definitely not, and that is fine. Actually, I really like that there. But I put something inside it. That looks really nice there. You know, when you get an idea, you know, you all share my pain. Now, do I have... I'm hoping that this will work. This circle adhesive. If not, we can make it work. Circle frame adhesive. Perfect size. Love that. Ugh. Oh, I love it. Okay, so I'm going to get out. Now I do have 2 packs of these, so if I run out of letters, so I am using this Dilutions journal block, and how I'm going to do it is my title is Sitting in Grandmother's Garden, or Sitting in Grandma's Garden. So I think I want to do garden and then move it up and do the rest. So what I'm going to do is just put my letters on the edge of this. Okay. So now I'm going to press down the top parts and take that out, and oh, didn't press them all down. There we go. Grandma's Garden. My grandmother always had the most beautiful flowers in her garden. Tea. Tea. I. N. G. Okay. Sitting in Grandma's Garden. Okay, so I've got more flowers that I want to use. You know what? Sometimes it's just time to know when to stop. So think I'm going to stop for right now. Now I do, because I cannot not do splattering. So I'm going to do a little bit of splattering, but I do need to cover up my photo because I don't want to add any splatters to my photo. So I'm going to spray a little bit of water in there. Going to grab my brush. Cover up this side of the photo. When in doubt, add splatter. There we go. And there is my finished page. Of course, that paint is not dry yet, but I will be taking some photos, and there you go. And there's my National Scrapbook layout sitting in Grandma's garden. Thanks so much for joining us today, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the rest of our inspiration videos for National Scrapbook Day.